Hello and welcome to ET Career Ready, our initiative to get you ahead in your chosen career. I'm Maloni Bhatt, and we have a special mentor class where we will delve into the trends that will define talent hiring in the travel and tech segment in 2023. Now, we have a great lineup of top industry people who lay out the roadmap that could help you refine your career decisions in this sector. And I'm very pleased to welcome Aritra Nandi, Director, Talent Acquisition, Cleartrip. Aritra, welcome to Economic Times.
Hey, Milani, thank you for having me today. It's wonderful to be able to speak to stalwarts in the industry and get to learn and share a few experiences.
Wonderful to have you here with us. Next up, we have Nupur Jain. She is the Vice President of Human Resources at Ixigo. Nupur, welcome.
Thanks a lot, and looking forward to the discussion.
And finally, joining us, Rahul Jain. He's the Director, People Business Partner at Sabre. Rahul, welcome to Economic Times.
Thank you, Meloni. Thank you for inviting me for this conversation. Looking forward to it, and I hope we can add some value to the thought processes of all those who are watching this.
A warm welcome to all of you. And I'd like to begin first with Aritra. At the end of 2022, it was a stressful time for tech workers due to the back-to-back layoffs. But the start of 2023, we thought things would improve, but in some ways, perhaps things are worse. Global data suggests that over 150,000 tech workers lost their jobs within the first 2 months of 2023. From your vantage, Aritra, could you lay out for us how India has fared when compared to the rest of the world when it comes to tech hiring and tech layoffs? And some sources suggest that India may be able to buck the global trend in 2023. Now, do you see that as actually happening? And could you define what makes the situation in India so very different?
Sure. I think that's an important question. In my opinion, India has done fairly well, in comparison to a lot of countries in the West when it comes to impact of layoffs until now. But during and post-COVID, several companies have doubled their sizes, right? Including small tech companies as well. But when it starts to become more unit economics driven, it will become an opportunity for a lot of companies to offload their inefficiencies, and demand will also slow down given the overall macroeconomic scenario, right? However, India's underlying fundamentals, economic fundamentals, are strong as compared to other countries. So while there could be a short-term turbulence, which we are seeing, I think the outlook on long-term front should be marginal, right? I think that's my opinion, and it should taper down as we gradually go along in 2023.
Okay. So you see the layoff winter coming to an end very, very soon globally, or do you see this happening India specific?
I think a lot of companies piled up in 2021, 2020, owing to digitization, right?
Right.
And I'm talking about specifically on tech. That's the flap that we are trying to shed right now. In my opinion, I think layoffs are tapering in India, right? Next year should see a lot of us doing a lot of cautious hiring, right? I think it also becomes important and imperative to manage the money and be frugal in the way we are trying to operate, right? So that is also going to impact a lot of our decision making when it comes to talent acquisition.
All right. Okay. Those are interesting points. Rupert, to you, from your vantage, when you look at travel tech in specific, how do you see the hiring and the layoff trends compared to the rest of the tech sector? And, the same question that I posed to Aritra, from your vantage, if you see a discrepancy in these trends for, the travel tech sector and then the rest of the tech sector, what are the discrepancies?
So Melanie, like I was saying, that COVID showed the travel sector the worst of the times. Travel, hospitality were the worst hit. So most of us, I think, were already prepared. Like we were, cautious in hiring. Ixigo in particular has has always believed in sustainable hiring. We have never overhired. We've never, like that could be because we never kind of believed in the a lot on the valuation game. We were very, very frugal, invested our own money in our growth, and hence the playbook for us didn't change a lot, right?
Right.
Either during COVID or post that. Uh, from the rest of the sectors, that ways I feel that travel, in this time has been at an advantage because they were already playing cautious, right? Did not overhire. They were managing their operating expenses, didn't let it go high, and hence I don't see a lot of layoffs happening, particularly in travel compared to the rest of the industries like say crypto and like a lot of e-commerce companies also, and ed tech in particular, right?
Right.
Because I think COVID was different for them and was different for travel. So on that inside, I'd say that they probably believe that ed tech would flourish even post the pandemic, and people would, like, which did not happen. So that sector saw a lot of layoffs. For travel, I think we'd say we've been lucky that we kind of were already playing cautious, so it's just worked for us.
The caution paid off. The caution has actually paid off, right?
Yeah.
All right. Rahul, to you, I mean, both Nupur and Aritra have spoken about the growth that they see, and Aritra also said that the layoff winter is soon coming to an end. There will be cautious hiring. Nupur saying that there was a lot of caution any which way when it came to travel tech companies, so was not largely affected. But looking at this other bit, how do you see the pandemic, and that sort of led to a huge shift into remote work, and there was a survey, and almost 90% Indians said that they plan to work while traveling. How do you perceive this fundamental shift in the way that people work, and how do you see that impacting the larger travel industry, and impact the type of talent and that travel tech companies will need to adapt to this changing consumer behavior and the changing trend?
Absolutely great question, Melanie. I just wanted to kind of put some numbers to this. Around before pandemic, probably around 30% organizations had policies of work from home in place. But if we go back to some of the results which Forbes has recently published, they said that at least 70% of the organizations will have by 2025 policies in process in place which allow for remote working at least for like 7 or 8 days in a month. So, and that's why we kind of see right now the terms of bleisures and digital nomadism kind of, picking up. However, what this means is, our infrastructure needs to be ready. We would need to start thinking about how, if people are on the road, are they on the flight, or if they are in the resort, are they having the good high Wi-Fi connection? What kind of roles can actually be given permanent work from home option? For example, some of the roles in manufacturing, real-time system monitoring or operations, they can never be given work from home.
Right.
And at the same time, a lot of things around personalization is also something that we are looking for, providing customized travel to all the consumers that are there. Now, all these people actually are in a way consumers for travel technology. And I'll give you some examples of how travel technology will be impacted by it. Think of a way in which, like, when you book a Uber tomorrow, instead of booking a Uber Premier or an Uber Go, you start booking an Uber Premier with Wi-Fi. When you book a flight, like right now we pay premium for a window seat, we may start paying a premium for having a seat which is Wi-Fi enabled. When you book a hotel room, the hotel room is obviously Wi-Fi enabled, but then you start paying more for a hotel room which has a small office workspace as well, right? So all these are opportunities for travel technology, and the pricing for such opportunities, the booking, the payment, check-in, the feedback, entire thing goes on to providing more opportunity for innovation in travel technology. And I think so therefore the future of work looks very, very different. It's here to kind of stay. From a talent expectations perspective, I think the talent expectations, with every few years we have new technologies coming in, something or the other kind of comes in. Some time back, I remember 2 decades back it was just internet, and then Java came into place. A decade back probably it was Python, and then picked up things like machine learning and data sciences. So I think the expectations from talent would remain same, that they need to be aware of adapting their skills to these changing demands. Working across platforms of varying scales, they would need to be agile while learning new technologies come that way. So I think a talent which is able to sustain amongst all these changing scenarios would thrive very well in the coming times.
All right. So, I think there is a big demand, I think, from talent, and hopefully a lot of them are gearing up to that challenge. Aritra, to you next. The IMARC Group values the travel tech market at $13.4 billion by 2027. And they're saying that it'll exhibit a growth rate, the CAGR of 7.7%, a significant growth in the travel and tourism sector, along with the rising need for automation across industries, is one of the key factors, or among the key factors that are driving the market. Now, do you see travel tech having the same growth in India, or do you see that growth trajectory being different? And linked to that, I have another question. What are the sort of strategies or maybe tools, that Cleartrip uses to attract top talent in this very competitive travel industry? And how has that evolved over the years? If you could give us an insight on that.
Sure. Let me answer the first question first, right? So I think overall, in India, the travel sector is going to increase exponentially, right? In terms of travelers coming into the picture, therefore the overall business growing in itself organically. Also, what has happened is post-COVID, a lot of people have come out of their houses, right? There's a lot of revenge travel that's happening. Despite the prices going up, we are seeing
True.
that favorite destinations are all booked up, right? Which means to say that travel is the next big thing in India, right? And I think during COVID, it was one of the industries to have a huge hit. And for it to bounce back, I think it's going to grow in leaps and bounces, right? Coming to the next question, that how Cleartrip or is sort of attracting talent. I think first thing first, we have rebranded ourselves as Cleartrip 2.0, right? Which does not say that we are a different organization, but we are a better organization than how we were earlier, right? And that itself is organically attracting a lot of tech enthusiasts to see what has changed, right? What's the value proposition? How are we serving our customers, right? But in my opinion, there are two specific cohorts which augment the talent attraction. Number one would be, an open canvas to create anything that one wishes to create for the customer. It could be a product offering, it could be a service, it could be loyalty programs, it could be benefits. Rahul also quoted multiple things that can be done in travel. For example, hotels with the office space, flight seats with Wi-Fi connections. So there is, it's I think it's endless, right? We should just try and navigate what can be achieved. The second cohort, in my opinion, is to try, and it's okay to fail, right? So to have that mental model without the fear of failing, I think that's very important. Also, if you see, there is one more significant difference that is going to come in Cleartrip, is the amount of growth as an organization we are going to achieve, right? If you see after 2020, the distance that we have been able to cover in the last few months, it's been exponential, and it's going to increase as we continue to grow. So that's, I think, a huge opportunity for travel enthusiasts to look at Cleartrip as an organization, grow with the company, grow the skill set, and become better professionals in the days to come.
All right, but what are some of the strategies that you're using to attract top talent? And if you could speak about it, there have been some changes over how how you've done it in the past, and how you're looking at it now.
See, I think in terms of strategies, like you said, we are obviously trying to create a lot of new products and new offerings, right? And most of these things are going to happen from the scratch, which means there is a lot of potential in people to come in and sort of try and maneuver a lot of things to do for the customers, right? That is not an option with a lot of organizations at the day. I think that's the most important selling factor. The other is, if somebody gets to operate at his or her own will without the
Yes.
fear of failing, I think that is giving a lot of faith and conviction in somebody's capability, right? I think these are the two most
Most, right.
incremental factor in my opinion, right? At least to when I'm talking to candidates, I'm saying, hey, you might be coming in as a SD2, for example, but imagine the amount of impact that we are going to create for the end consumer, right? With the product, with solving some of the challenges that customers are facing on a day-to-day basis, right? I think those areas are something that we should definitely talk about and possibly over index to our candidates, right?
All right. All right, important point, empowering the people you bring in. Rahul, to you now, in your role as Director of People Business Partner at Sabre, what are the top skills and competencies that you look for when you're hiring tech talent? How do you assess these during the hiring process? And another question that I have linked to this is, how do you see the role of emerging technologies such as AI, machine learning, all of them play in the travel tech hiring in 2023 and beyond?
Right. Great question again. The emerging technologies, I'll start with that, and then I'll probably tell you about how Sabre is kind of taking care of it. When you look at AI now, all our chatbots across all our platforms are, all AI driven. It takes some time for us to get to an actual agent in case if we are really in an issue. Otherwise, the chatbots solve most of our queries. When you talk about virtual reality, how you can use virtual reality in travel tech is in case if any one of us wants to travel to an exotic location tomorrow, you can have an immersive experience virtually sitting right here on your seat. Thinking that how will you feel when you are actually at that location, so that virtual reality can actually come and play in front of you. You have blockchain coming in, which the initial use cases of it show how you can decentralize the entire booking process. When you talk about machine learning, how can personalized solutions using big data be given to our consumers? So a lot of host of new technologies are kind of there on the play. Sabre, however, is focusing on the AI ML space. We have a retail intelligence division, which has a product called as Ancillary IQ. It is aimed at supporting all kind of retailing strategies by dynamically pricing individual accessories, enabling the creation of some bundles. I hope I do not sound too technical, but in plain terms, it's something that's developed in partnership with Google. We are we work in very close collaboration with Google. And it's also powered by the Sabre's Travel AI framework. So what happens now is that when you think of hiring a lateral talent, we now focus on people who are already proficient in the skills of AI and ML, because we're doing that quite a lot. Most of the skills that we were otherwise having, probably a decade back around .NET or around work around mainframe, because now we are migrating everything to GCP. That's kind of becoming redundant. So unless and until you are a GCP certified professional, if you're a lateral hire, then you need to kind of have that. In fact, Sabre was the number 2 in across all organizations in having GCP certified professionals last year, right after Google. So that's the kind of importance we are giving to it. But in case if a person is a fresh talent, in case if they want to kind of come in, then at that point of time we have our internship program. We take people fresh in from the colleges. We kind of pamper them for the first 6 months. We train them across different technical platforms. We have free accesses to platforms like Udemy, Franklin Covey, and Coursera. So there's a lot that we do to kind of make sure the right talent is brought in. We have a very stringent hiring process. It has around 6 to 7 rounds, which would be at least 4 pure technical rounds, and we focus mostly on algorithms, conceptual knowledge of talent rather than just going into their programming or technology knowledge. So we would focus on a whole rounded individual to kind of come in and be with Sabre, and we also try and see that how the person can actually scale into multiple technologies in different spaces of time. So that has been our hiring strategy, and this is how, given the whole travel paradigm space, we are trying to focus on talent.
All right, and thank you very much for a very detailed response. And obviously, this will be very useful to, a lot of people who want to get into this space, and a lot of people who are watching. Nupur, to you, would you have anything to add to what Rahul said, especially when it comes to your strategy at Ixigo, and also as VP of Human Resources? This whole thing about ensuring employee satisfaction and ensuring employee engagement in this very fast-paced, high-growth startup environment. How are you ensuring all of that?
So I think we have a very unique work model wherein we have 3 work streams, and we kind of we were talking about digital nomadism, and we feel that in an organization like ours, right, different employees, different cohorts would have different needs, right? And it is not one shoe fits all kind of an arrangement. So we came up with this unique model where we've made the customer support cohort completely remote, and we're taking a lot of diversity hiring initiatives there, because we feel that COVID, I think the biggest gift that COVID gave us was, to build the momentum around, remote working, right? Uh, and it would only be, I think it would only be silly to not continue that, right? And hence we decided to make the complete CX, which is a substantial part of our workforce, completely remote, so that we can we can bring in more women to the workforce, right? People who would move back to their hometown. So we're doing a lot of diversity hiring, upskilling, training people to take up job and bring women back to the workforce. I think that really we feel has reduced attrition, and we've been able to attract a lot of good talent because of that. And then there's cohort where you have engineers, product managers who want to work remote. So we have meetups every quarter for them. So there's FaceTime, there's social bonding between the people, yet they're also kind of have the best of both worlds, so to say, right? And then we have say the support folks, admin and finance, and a couple of other functions where we feel that coming to the office is a good idea because of statutory compliances and more local needs in India. So we've kept a hybrid model. So we feel that you can no longer lure employees or people by say fancy lunches and fancy offices, right? And you have to really tailor your offering depending upon what people need and want. So I think we've been doing multiple surveys, and this model has really worked for us. So we've been, I mean, our attrition rate literally dropped by double digit, because of this whole customization and personalized solution that we've come up in terms of the work model, right? So I think that's something that's really worked for us. Apart from that, we've always been spending, even during COVID times, in developing people internally. We've acquired companies, and we're proud to say that a lot of our people have stayed with the organization for tenures in excess of 5 years, which is being in tech industry, which is pretty unique. So I think we still take a lot of pride in kind of coming up with personalized solutions for different cohorts. So I think that's what has worked for us.
All right. So, personalization is a big theme you're saying for a lot of companies, who are in the space that you are in. But you touched upon, making work more manageable for women. And
Right.
women make up around 35% of the IT workforce. While we'd like to have a 50-50, I think, target, and a lot of companies would like to have that, we're still a long way away from
Absolutely.
that. Talk to us a little bit more about, how have you managed to drive this diversity, inclusion, and equity, and how have you managed to bring that, into the way that you've structured your employment paradigms or whatever it is, in terms of ensuring that sort of diversity exists within cohorts.
Right. So I think it's a topic very close to my heart, I'd say. And I mean, often I would get frustrated with the the skewed gender ratios, especially in technology teams, right? And when you deep dive, you understand that that problem is not only at say at the level of companies, but that starts right at engineering colleges, right? So although you want to change a lot of things, but maybe it'll be a good idea to pick up problems and then just take one step at a time to improve things that you can really improve, right? So we understood that there is a clear kind of like, even in terms of the applications that we get for engineering roles, would have a very, very small pool of women candidates. And if we would discriminate there, it we our managers would argue that, okay, this is reverse discrimination, and we really want to just look at the pool as it is, and hire people more on merit. So we found that there's a sweet spot, like I said, in our CX, in the customer support team, right? And because it has more generic skills, which we were confident we could train people to pick up, navigating through CRMs, and upskilling was less challenging, I'd say, for more generic skills. So we thought, let's move the numbers where we can, right? Like just look at the low hanging fruits and solve, like just kind of build on that. So that's what we focused on the whole of last year, and we hired diversity candidates, and we're proud that almost 50% of our current workforce today has been because of the diversity programs that we've run in the last 1 year. And what makes us more proud is the fact that the candidates that came from different backgrounds, the diversity, are also the top performing women, right? So because they were given a chance, we believed in them, and we made an effort to upskill them slightly, right? I think we could see that through their passion and hard work, they really made up for their experience. And I just very strongly feel that every organization has to take those bets, right? Because if I think largely people like talking about diversity, inclusion, and equity, but I think a lot of us are not thinking about what we can do to, like, even I feel that even if you can make a difference to one life, you should do it, but it has to be quantifiable. So yeah, so I think that's what I'd say on that.
No, it's amazing to hear, and the numbers that you quoted are great. So, all the best with your efforts. And hopefully there are a lot of other, employers in the space who will adopt a lot of these strategies going forward, and, make it a more diverse workforce, especially when it comes to travel and tech. So we wish you great success with it. Aritra, coming to you, along with DEI, right? There's also this great focus on sustainability. So in your opinion, what do you see, or how do you see the role of employers in creating this sustainable and ethical talent ecosystem? And what are the steps that you feel companies can take to ensure that they're doing their part?
Thank you for that question. I think it's a great one, specifically given the current scenario. Nupur also mentioned about customization and personalized experience, right? I think that's the need of the hour, to put it in the right way. Also, in order to create a vibrant and a sustainable company, um, I think it's important that we are able to get the workforce personally engaged, and this is possibly from the top executives to the bottom line employees, right? Um, Specifically in Cleartrip, I think collaboration is the one thing that we always index on. Hence, a hybrid model of work has really helped us to scale new heights, right? Um, Additionally, physical and mental well-being is also top of the charters. To help employees, deliver the best for a considerable and a consistent period of time, right? What also is important, I think, this is the era of cost optimization. So, optimal delivery with minimal cost from a talent resourcing perspective, I think, is another tool that most companies are taking and should be taken, right? So that we are frugal with maximized delivery, right? The other thing is, this can only be achieved when there is an ability to raise the bar with every talent that you hire, right?
Right,
Again, I think this can only be achieved if there is a acute understanding of what the marketplace is offering in terms of talent and skill, and you are making the right judgment, not just looking at who is the best fit for the role at
hmm,
hand, but also who is able to come in, hit the ground running, and is also scalable, fungible in the next few years, right? So that there is no stagnation in talent, right?
right.
I think these are few yardsticks that will really help us move those few kilometers in a very short span of time.
Hmm. All right. And these are great pointers for potential talent, looking to participate in this workforce, in the travel tech workforce.
Yep.
Rahul, to you, what are the biggest challenges that you think, talent acquisition will face in 2023? And, from your vantage, uh, what is your plan in addressing these?
Great question, Melanie. So I believe some of the biggest challenges that in 2023 we would face actually is, I think the supply of talent from various cohorts and sources would be huge. I truly believe that, because at this point of time, while there is layoffs that are happening across globally, if you open a position, the kind of the same quality of talent would be at different price ranges across in the market. And for you to kind of go ahead and choose which one suits best, unless and until you have a very robust hiring strategy in place, you could actually go berserk as well. So, choosing, from that huge talent pool, the one that fits in your organization is going to become much more challenging than it was before. Second, I think what is going to happen now is that even the good talent, the quality talent that is out there, would be much more choosy now, because what as Anupur was kind of telling earlier, the EVP is not only focused right on compensation now. Gone are the
Right.
days when people used to have fancy lunches in cafeterias, as Anupur was mentioning, and I know Aritra wouldn't couldn't agree less, couldn't agree more on this. Um, so we have a holistic package now. It has to be focused on hybrid workspace. It has to focus on overall benefits that you kind of offer, and it has to, the talent has to see what the career path is going to look like even before they join. So if as an organization we do not have those career playbooks in place, if you do not have that career architecture where you can showcase to the talent right before they join on how they can kind of grow in, that's going to be one of the biggest challenge, and therefore the organizations need to have that systems and processes in place. The other thing, which I think all of us were kind of mentioning about, is I think the generation for today is very, very woke. They're very evolved. They know what they want, and they're very
Right.
clear about it. So at this point of time, I still think that in case if there are organizations which are grappling with issues on diversity, the talent would say, hey, that's a problem that was 5, 6 years ago. Tell me about communities which you have on autism. Tell me about disability. I wouldn't even talk about communities around LGBTQ plus because India already lifted the ban 5 years ago. So are you telling me that you have a community for that? They will be like, that's a given, that's a basic. So tell me what's new. How are you always ahead of the curve? So I think the talent today would need, a lot of communities, and the communities doesn't have to be across special interest groups. It could be around communities of tech. It could be around communities of women in tech. It could be
Right.
around communities of maybe just photography. But the talent would today want to kind of see something which is outside their work because they do understand that the work and life has kind of mixed now. So it's a mixture.
Meshed.
So
Right.
it's all meshed right now. Absolutely correct. So if it is meshed, so as this organization I'm going to join, how is it going to make sure that I feel a seamless integration between work and life? So I think these would the top three challenges which organizations would see while attracting talent. Um, and I think Sabre has, kind of geared up for this 2 years back. We had our own IND charter kind of shaping up. We have already partnered with NASCOM on multiple of these initiatives. Innovation as such is one of the very big keys that we had. In fact, comparably, I'm sure that you would have heard of them. They had a 70,000 organizations participating, and last year Sabre was ranked the best CEO as well as the best company culture across all these 70,000 organizations, because we have some of these practices in place now to attract talent. So I believe small steps all organizations are taking. They have taken these 2 years of COVID to kind of rethink, as Aritra was saying, to go back and look at their value chain, how they can optimize and bring in more operational efficiencies. Sabre also kind of went ahead and did that, and with all the rethinking that we have done, we believe we are at the right place right now for a great place to work.
All right, and great insights there. I mean, it was very interesting to note that, career progression, even before they join, the talent actually wants to see that path and that career trajectory very, very clearly. Aritra, I could see you note throughout this. So, anything that you'd like to add, what are the challenges that you see topmost for you, in 2023 when it comes to attracting and keeping talent?
I think I couldn't agree more with what Rahul said. Right, um, this is a rat race, and I think most companies are running, and there is endless talent, but there is no end towards creating value propositions to attract talent. Right, and it also
Well said.
differs from one. It also differs from one candidate to the other, right? For somebody, benefits hit the right chord. For somebody, the profile. For somebody, the compensation. For somebody, like Rahul said, nuances of communities in an organization, right? Often, I think we also are short-sighted, if I can use that word, when talking about BNI. We only look at the scope of gender diversity, but I think
Right.
we should look at expanding those horizons and creating a very diverse workforce, which will concatenate the entire thought process towards delivering products or services to the customers, right? I think that is the biggest challenge today, right? Most companies are not able to organically drive this as a proposition. Hence, there are multiple programs built at different levels, which are in a way forced to be undertaken, so that there is a generic output that comes into the picture, right? Nupur, you also said that if there is a scenario where there is a 50-50% participation in terms of gender diversity, now that's a dream that most companies have while few can achieve, right?
Right.
um, I think these are challenges that I think most of us are grappling, right? The next
Absolutely.
challenge that comes in is what COVID has done and what layoffs have done is people are out in the market. So there is a lot of talent availability. The number of opportunities has gone down, which means the fight for a particular role has gone up. It is, I think it will be important to see if pricing stroke compensation is going to be the driving factor, because a lot of companies are trying to play on that, right?
Mm.
I don't believe candidates will only stick to compensation, like Rahul said. One should have the entire visibility of the runway before somebody comes into the organization, not just in terms of profile, but also in terms of learning, which is also be going to be a key factor, right? So a lot of companies are investing in learning and development as of today. I think, and that's going to be a very, very important thing for people to become more skilled, right? And to be able to tackle the future.
All right, so while employers are evaluating potential employees, they're also evaluating potential companies to see, which best fits in with their idea of what work should be like. But
Absolutely.
Nupur, any additions to that, Nupur?
No, I think great conversation around employee needs and what, and I think it's great to learn what companies are doing. The only thing is that I feel that startups, it was unbelievable a few years back on the maturity that startup ecosystem today has, right? In their ability to talk about gender, diversity and equity and inclusion, and it's pretty impressive because I always felt that this is only for the big boys right out there, because probably they have larger teams and
Deeper
larger
pockets.
deeper pockets. So like, I think I'm extremely proud to where we've come, and especially the startup community, like how sensitive we are. And just to add to Aritra's point, I think I totally agree that now it's time also for the market to correct a little bit, because like tech talent was there, and with the valuations going through the roof for a lot of companies, I think it did a lot of damage to a whole generation, honestly. I mean, that's like because I mean, because of the valuations, people felt it was more glamorous to start up, right? More glamorous to work for a startup, without realizing that it actually requires a lot of hustle, and the whole ed tech ecosystem kind of impacted a whole generation, because you had a large fleet of sales folks going after customers, and now all of them out there in the market. So you put out one sales position, and you'll find like 50 applications out of the 100 applications you get would be from the ed tech companies. So I think it's also a great time for the market to correct a little bit, for the expectations to normalize. As employers and as HR people, we always want to make sure that we come up with the best offering for potential talent. But the market did also need correction, and I'm especially enjoying this time because people are now looking beyond compensation and not really offer shopping. And so that's a moment when you really you require to do the real work of building something that's more sustainable, cultures, practices, benefits, which you can sustain over a period of time, irrespective of whether how the market or macro factors are. So it's the time for building sustainable businesses
Right.
and teams. Yeah.
And
So
that's good news also for potential employees, right? Because
right,
they know that they're joining companies who are in it, for the long game, and
long.
the fact that they don't have to worry about where that money is going to come from when it comes to their
Right.
paychecks, and that there is a reasonable learning, reasonable growth, and all other things that they can get when it comes to their work force. But thanks so very much, Aritra, Rahul, and Nupur for speaking to me today, and for really sharing your thoughts on the trends which are really going to shape, travel and travel tech hiring in 2023. Thank you very much for providing this great insights, from your vantage, and also giving us a very holistic picture when it comes to what potential employees should be looking for. So thank you so very much today for your time and for your thoughts. It's been wonderful having you here at economictimes.com.
Thank you, Maloney. It
Thanks.
was fun talking about these important points. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Melanie. And nice to meet you, Nupur and Aritra. I'm sure that together we are the pioneers of travel tech, and we need to continue kind of being in touch and making sure that every listener out there in collaboration with ET can probably keep on getting value from these conversations.
Absolutely, Rahul. Thanks a lot, Melanie, for having us, and it was a lovely discussion, I guess.
All right. Thank you so very much. Thank you all once again.